We do have to discuss something that happened on ESPN 2 nights ago, and that was Rob Manfred was talking while there was a broadcast going on. He was being interviewed during the Mets-Mariners game and was asked about expansion and possible realignment of divisions. I think his answer was pretty interesting, and then Jim Bowden put out a hypothetical list of what these geographical divisions would look like, and I think it'll be fun to discuss. So this is MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred talking about possible expansion of Major League Baseball and some potential division realignment.
So how about a window into the future? Expansion, realignment, expanded playoffs. I mean, Can you see that down the road?
I can. I think the first two topics are related in my mind. I think if we expand, it provides us with an opportunity to geographically realign. I think we could save a lot of wear and tear on our players in terms of travel. And I think our postseason format would be even more appealing for, entities like ESPN, because you'd be playing up out of the East, out of the West, and that 10 o'clock time slot where we, sometimes get Boston, Anaheim, would be two West Coast teams, and that 10 o'clock slot that's a problem for us sometimes becomes a real opportunity for our West Coast audience. So I think, I think the owners realize that there's demand for Major League Baseball in a lot of great cities, and that we have an opportunity to do something good around that expansion process.
Before I get to that, Mike, let me just say real quick that I love that they have this Little League game every year now. They need to do a better job of promoting it. Same thing. I didn't even know about that game at the NASCAR stadium.
I actually watched that.
I had no clue until that day.
I actually watched that game with the Braves.
Yeah,
I was
cool.
I was like, this is cool.
They didn't promote it at all. And they played in Iowa at that field.
Field of Dreams.
They need to do a better job of promoting
They did that already?
Not this year they didn't do it, but they've done it in the past.
So based off what Manfred said, Jim Bowden, which now it's in my head. Bowden put out his version of what he thinks the geographical realignments could be if Major League Baseball goes that way. And I want to just show you what the Guardians proposed division would look like if they went with this proposal. There's been a bunch that have been online. Everyone has their own tweaks, but in this hypothetical world, the North Division would include the Cincinnati Reds, the Cleveland Guardians, the Detroit Tigers, and the Toronto Blue Jays. I could run through all the proposed divisions if you want to see them, Bull.
I've seen them.
But your take on this, if this were to be a new division.
That's a tougher division than they're in now. You're taking out the White Sox, who have been bad for a lot of the last 20 years. And you're taking out the Twins, who are usually competitive. And
that's it.
You're taking out
Kansas City.
And the Royals.
And you're taking out the Royals.
It'd be a 5-team division down to a 4-team division.
You're adding a Blue Jays team that is usually competitive. This year they're better than that. And a Reds team that's usually I think the Reds and Twins are kind of equivalent. The Blue Jays are a lot better than the Royals overall, even though the Royals have won a World Series and the Blue Jays haven't. But overall, the Blue Jays have been a better franchise in recent years. And you take out a bad White Sox team. It's a challenging division, but geographically, obviously, it makes a lot of sense. The weird thing with the one that Jim Bowden did is he did not have the Cubs and Cardinals in the same division, which that's strange because that's one of the oldest rivalries in all of baseball.
The
Guardians don't really have a rival. They really don't.
The Yankees.
But for anyone else who hasn't seen them all, let's just run through the divisions real quick just so everyone's on the same
playing. It would be 8 14 divisions like football.
Exactly. So, Steve, we could take 4-17 here. You guys saw the North already.
Yeah.
His proposed East Division would be the Red Sox, Yankees,
Mets,
and Phillies.
Woo!
I love that.
That's a gauntlet.
That's a great division, great rivalries. And those teams are all going to have to spend, obviously.
That's good ball.
Yeah.
The Southeast is the next division. This would be the Braves, the Marlins, the Rays, and an expansion team in Nashville.
I'm sure the Braves would be pretty happy about that.
The Braves are probably right.
The Marlins always stink. The Rays are good, but they don't spend money. And then, who knows with a new team in Nashville.
The Mid-Atlantic is the next one. That would be the Orioles, the Pirates, the Nationals, and another expansion team.
That's a bad division right there.
I mean, you look at
but that's right now. Things change,
It is funny seeing this versus the East and just the...
right.
Yeah. Next would be the Midwest, and this is where he has the 2 Chicago teams, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Brewers, and the Twins.
Right. The problem is you got to have the Cardinals with the Cubs.
I agree.
There's no way they're splitting those two. But then what do you do with Kansas City? You really kind of need and you can't get rid of Milwaukee, so it makes it tricky. I don't know what they would do, but
the next is the Southwest, which is where the Cardinals fall in, and I don't really think of St. Louis as the Southwest, but the Astros, Royals, the Cardinals, and the Rangers.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good division. The Cardinals aren't good this year, but they're usually good. And those are teams that are, like the Rangers have been decent. The Astros are always good. Royals are, have been competitive for
2 more divisions. You got the Pacific Coast, which would be the Rockies, the Athletics, the Mariners, and the Giants.
Yep.
And then last you would have the West, which is the Diamondbacks, the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Padres. Bull, just in theory, before we dive into each of these divisions.
Yeah.
You think it'd be a good idea for Major League Baseball to go in that direction?
Yes, 100%. I think now the old school people, like they were with all the rule changes, Howie Rose, who I love, one of my favorite play-by-play guys, the Mets longtime broadcaster, he's one of my favorites. He's great. He lost his mind over this. Because it totally destroys the history of American League, National League. You have to change. You have to stay with the times. I in many ways, I hate Rob Manfred because I don't think he loves baseball, and the way he's handled relationships with the players has been awful. But in some ways, Rob Manfred's been quietly a great commissioner in terms of moving the game forward. The rule changes baseball has made have been a major positive. The fact that games are that first night when we went to the Cubs-Blue Jays game in Toronto, that Wednesday night game, the game was, I think it ended up being 2 hours and 5 minutes. Games are much faster now.
Back then it was 3-something.
3.5, 4 hours.
Most games, you used to think baseball is a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
Now many games are 2.5 hours or less. It's better. I'm in the minority, I think, especially amongst diehard fans. I love the base runner on second in the extra innings.
You all want the swing off?
Nah, that I don't want. That I don't want.
You know what's so crazy is we talk about realignment.
Yeah.
But you go back, this is weird. I'm looking at the standings. I just picked a date from 1985. In the American League East, you had the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Tigers, Baltimore, Boston, Milwaukee, and Cleveland.
Yeah.
Dang.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
What you had to do to even make the postseason.
Right.
At
that time, only 4 teams made it.
And so you knew you had the best teams. There was no So basically, you went from this to the new Central, model where they broke it down a little bit. So they have changed it a lot.
Yeah, they have. They've basically kept the NL and the AL. This would totally blow it up.
Yeah.
Now, but I like it. I like the Mets and Yankees being in the same division. Now, I like the Cubs and White Sox being in the same division.
From a purist standpoint, because baseball, I think baseball got the most unwritten rules in any sport.
Yeah.
People viewed all of that, the doctrine, and how big of a deal is it that there's a National League and American League?
To me, I don't care. For most old school fans, it's a big deal, but you know what? The records don't matter anymore. Both leagues have the same rules. You play interleague play all the time. I want baseball to continue to think forward. They need to do they're improving their TV coverage. It's got to be better. You can't have any more of these blackouts. I should be able to watch the Guardians games on my MLB app. I shouldn't have to have to pay extra for it.
When did he allude to when this could potentially happen?
No, not really. But
why? I figure they got bigger fish to fry. I mean, it's potentially
there's going to be probably a lockout at the end of the next year.
Correct.
But part of what they're thinking is the owners are like, yeah, we're going to lose money for a year, but we're going to get the expansion fees for 2 teams, and that's going to be a lot of money for the owners.
McNuggets.
That's what they're going to do. Where did he project the other team besides Nashville?
Charlotte.
So you're going to put 2 teams in the Southeast?
So, I thought it was between Portland, Salt Lake City.
Montreal, maybe.
I thought it was Portland, Salt Lake City, and Nashville.
Do you believe so?
Nashville's 100% getting a team.
Oh yeah, they're coming with that. Do you believe that, say for instance, if they did away, because I'll be trying to figure it out, because people say in baseball, we'll get rid of divisions. If it was basketball and they said get rid of the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. Would you be down for it?
In basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, basketball, the division.
Because I mean, for me, I would get rid of divisions for everything.
And just have
have teams
30-team league,
and you play each other.
Top 16 make the playoffs.
Top make the playoffs.
It would. You know what? It would. Even though I think there's too many
You
teams.
get the best 16 teams every year.
And you know, instead of like, well, we're not playing that hard, we're going to be the 3 seed. Well, maybe now you're the 6 seed.
Right.
That's like when the Big Ten finally got rid of East and West. It's like
the
top 2 teams now.
Yeah,
It's
get
like,
rid of that.
yeah.
These conferences are arbitrary at this point. Like, put them in. Listen, y'all play whoever y'all going to play. Like you said, they're playing interleague anyway.
Yeah. If you play what? If you played 29, 58, that's too many games. I was going to say, in the NBA, if you're going to do that, you might have to go to like an even schedule. But if you play every team 3 times, it's too many games.
Yeah, the divisions don't really matter to me.
Divisions
in
are
basketball
100% meaningless.
At all.
The only reason they do it is because of scheduling. You play those teams
East
more
and
than you
West.
play other teams.
Right.
It's literally that's it. I wouldn't be against just making it more open conference, but I do think there is something, and this is why I love the geographical idea in baseball, to proximity rivalries. And when you play a certain team a certain amount of times, you aren't going to develop rivalries if you play a team once every 4 years or once every 2. You know what I'm saying? Like in your own stadium. So
I don't know. I mean,
And aren't rivalries based on whether or not you're good or not? Like, say, for instance, the Golden State Warriors and the Cavs had a rivalry.
Right.
That's just because they were the 2 best teams and they saw each other.
That's it.
Like, in the Big Ten, like for college football, I feel like all that's done.
Whoa. What you talking about?
Like, pretty soon, like, there's a lot of rivalries that, like, died. Like, say, for instance, Pittsburgh and West Virginia. Okay, backyard brawl. That's not like some of the people move to divisions. You still got Oklahoma and Texas play each other, right?
Yeah, they're in the same.
But they're in the same division. But you know, like if you had UCLA and USC, they're in the same division. They leave as packs. But there's lots of people who don't even be playing like that no more. Like Marshall and West Virginia, they're not playing no more. They're in 2 different conferences. We don't even see that no more. So
there's like a handful of rivalries, and the one that's about to be up is USC versus Notre Dame,
right?
And if that happens,
you know, they just like I just think
if Ohio State didn't play the Wolverines,
well, I think they would have
that would be
they would make them
or
play.
if Auburn didn't play Alabama,
they would make them play.
Y'all
got to still play.
That's not happening. But bottom line, Mike, I think I'm open to any ideas. I like realignment.
I like this.
And, you know, and then I assume if they went to 32 teams, they'd do what football does and go to 7 teams. I just hope that both football and baseball don't go to 8. To me, 7's the number for football. 6 I like in baseball right now. I can live with 7 if they go to 32 teams. That's it. I don't want that 8th team. I feel like in the NFL they're going to go to that 8th team eventually.
Man, will there ever be? Could you get an overseas division? What if
football?
I want a London
in football,
a Barcelona.
They said
a Germany.
I think they're trying to do
Paris.
That.
Yeah,
I want 4 of them. If you got 4 new teams,
I'm surprised.
It's
honestly,
too much travel.
But I'm just saying,
they would. So how they
if it's 4 teams over there, like you could just come and make a block, and you just would be over there.
That's exactly what they said. You just play all 4 of the teams while you over there.
I'm surprised. I know 32 is a good number for the NFL because it's perfect with the 8-4-team divisions. I am really surprised, though, with as much money as the NFL has made, that they haven't expanded in a while. Because you could easily expand.
Where you want to go?
Well, I mean, you could go to Europe.
I want 4.
So you do want to go overseas?
I don't necessarily want to.
I mean, the way they go to London every year, they might as well.
I feel that if the NFL did it correctly and there were 4 good teams, they could actually put a dent on football, real soccer. I think it will never be as popular as soccer. But
they can at least
it can put a dent into it because you got 4 teams. You start developing the regionalness of it.
Yeah.
Now you start to have teams where you like, okay, well now kids will want to play football. Yeah. And that's where you get the base.
Then how would you do it? Then you'd have 9 divisions of 4 teams. How would you figure? You'd have to add like 8 teams, I think. Where could you put an extra NFL team?
In the United States?
United States. Could you put a second team in Chicago?
I mean,
you probably could.
Possibly.
Well, you know what? You could put a team in Toronto.
Yes, that's one.
You could put a team in Toronto. You could put a second team in Chicago. You put another team in San Diego. There should be a team in San Diego.
San Diego
You
one.
go to
back.
St. Louis deserves a football team.
St. Louis would get one back.
St. Louis, Oakland, San Diego would
They
all.
sell out in the XFL.
Yeah.
The old Ram Stadium.
Yeah.
When you look at the XFL or whatever that league is now.
Yeah.
UFL.
They had like 45% of the entire league's
Right. Yeah.
Attendance.
Yeah, so don't
just
do
there.
Chicago. So do
St. Louis,
Toronto, St. Louis, San
Oakland.
Diego, and Oakland.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. And we got the
And then
four.
and then a team in Paris, a team in London, a team in
Germany.
Barcelona, and a team in Munich. There you go.
By the way, that
40-team NFL.
That would be fire. Can you imagine?
They'd have to start playing on Tuesdays.
Love it.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Hey, we'll negotiate it.
Let's go 18-game schedule. 18
Every
game
day
schedule.
you got a game to watch.
18-game schedule with 2 buys over 20 weeks.
Can you imagine
Super Bowl.
the royal family
Yeah.
is coming to the game? You're live from Paris.
Yeah.
At the Eiffel Tower. They built a state-of-the-art stadium by the Eiffel Tower.
Pretty sweet.
That would be good.
Woo!
Yeah.